started. Would you kind of herd the people in, or let me know when everybody's come into the room? I can't see very much back there. Okay. Well, first I'd like to welcome everyone to our press conference. Thank you very much for coming today. I know this has been a sort of a computer week for reasons that we don't understand, and we're glad that so many of you were willing to away from all of the other stories that seem to break this week and attend our conference. This is the first time we have come to New York to hold a press conference in over a year and a half. Despite the fact that we've introduced several new products during that period. We're here today because we believe that the product we're going to introduce is an important new product, a very exciting new product, and we hope that you'll share our enthusiasm. Our agenda today is to have some brief presentations in this room, an open question and answer session. We're then set up with demonstration machines, and we'll be available for one-on-one Q&A, and after that we will have lunch. We have, in addition to Bill and myself, we have some guest speakers with us today. We have Steve Jobs, who's chairman of Apple Computer. We have Enzo Teresi, who's senior vice president of Businessland. And we have Ed Anderson, who is vice president of the Computer Factory here in New York, the latter two representing our channel of distribution for the product we're going to show you today. Microsoft was founded 10 years ago, and ever since that founding, we've pursued a mission that is shown on that slide, and that is using software technology to put computers on every desk. That's a vision that the company was started with, and it's a vision that is probably a lot less elusive today than it was 10 years ago. In pursuit of that mission, we have become a pretty diversified software company. We offer innovative software solutions in three areas: in operating systems, where we offer such industry standards as MS-DOS, Xenix, Microsoft Networks, and soon Microsoft Windows. In languages, where we have many products, including BASIC, Fortran, Pascal, COBOL, C, and other tools. And since 1982, in application software, where we concentrate on high functionality productivity solutions. Our application strategy is aimed at supporting new hardware developments, such as graphics, with applications packaged that offer the end user innovation, depth, and flexibility. Innovation in the use of hardware, as with our support for the Apple LaserWriter and our use of the Macintosh interface to produce software that has set new standards in ease of use. Depth in product functionality to meet all the needs of the power microcomputer user, as with Microsoft's Word, the most advanced word processing product available for microcomputers today, and with the new product we're going to introduce today. Flexibility to meet users' needs, to pass data between standalone programs, to allow the user to customize their application to suit their own specific needs, and to free them from the limitations of prior software. The product we're introducing today fits that strategy perfectly. It is a product of innovation, of depth, and of flexibility. It also complements our current line of extremely successful Macintosh applications and totally exhibits our belief in the graphical user interface as the best solution to human-computer communications. All of our Macintosh applications follow that same strategy, with the result that there has never been a line of software as successful as our applications products for the Macintosh. We have sold more than one piece of Microsoft software for every Macintosh sold throughout the world. And we intend to continue that success with our newest application, which is for the 512K Macintosh, the product we're introducing today, Excel. Excel represents our philosophy of products with depth for serious users. Excel is what we call an appropriately integrated product. That is, it delivers the proper level of depth and functionality by providing a superior numbers solution complemented by extensive charting capability and some limited database functions. Our research shows that software users typically focus on a primary task: numbers processing, word processing, or data management. In each category, users want serious, advanced software that combines functions that complement that primary task. For example, word processors typically want to have available a spelling checker, automatic hyphenation, and similar features, while numbers processors typically want charting capability. What we have done in designing Excel is to try and produce a package that represents the best solution for people who work in numbers processing. To clarify our application strategy, we can split productivity software into 4 quadrants. The lower 2 quadrants are low functionality and lower cost applications, either integrated or standalone, and that's a market not addressed by Microsoft. The upper left quadrant represents the all-in-one, high-performance, typically high-cost integrated software. It is this area, often called kitchen sink software, where a great deal of the industry's resources, including a lot of venture capital dollars and a lot of design talent, have been focused and perhaps wasted over the past 2 years. There have been at least 11, probably more, companies that pursued this path and introduced packages, some of which shipped and some of which did not. Yet none of them have gained the success in the market that was predicted. Our focus is in the upper right quadrant, which is characterized by high-performance depth products. While others have focused on adding new applications variety to a single package, we have focused on advancing the state-of-the-art in performance in given areas, such as word processing, as we've done with Microsoft Word, and now in numbers processing with Excel. We had a strong belief that we could improve the performance and the usability and the state-of-the-art of the spreadsheet. Our clear focus on depth within an application allowed us to break through with some truly innovative spreadsheet features that extend the performance of the spreadsheet. Is something that no one has done in the past 2 years, not since the introduction of 1, 2, 3, and not until Excel. We're clearly excited about Excel. We're not afraid to call it the world's best spreadsheet. We believe it is the most important applications introduction that has been made to date for Microsoft and for Apple's Macintosh. Again, let me thank you for coming. Bill Gates is going to come up now and talk some more about Excel, and we're going to show you the product in action.
One thing I want to make clear is we're not only just announcing Excel today, we're also making clear what our philosophy for doing applications is. All this talk about a depth product and about why these all-in-one packages haven't succeeded represents a clear direction for us, and we think the direction the entire industry will take. And the way we've divided things down is into the 3 areas: words, processing numbers, and processing data. And so the product we're talking about today is focused on being the world's best spreadsheet. That is, being the best tool for working with numbers. Now, if we look at all-in-one software, what's the drawback? Why not do a package that has every single function in it? Well, the problem is that for any generation of hardware, there's limited resources. There's a limit to how big the manual should be. There's a limit to the disk size. there's a limit to the amount of memory, there's a limit to the size of the team you want to use to get it done, or the amount of time you want to take to do it. There's a limit to the number of commands you want to offer. And so think of all of these things as finite resources. And in the design of an application, you have a choice whether to expend those resources in all three directions, words, numbers, and database, or whether to focus it in a single direction. And by focusing it in one direction, you can create what we're calling a depth product. You can use all these resources to help that numbers user. Well, given this, you might ask, why did people do all-in-one products? Why did everybody go down that dead end and really believe that's the way things would proceed? Well, part of the problem was the way that the system software worked. Part of the problem was that it didn't do some things for applications that users wanted. Specifically, the three things that you got from an all-in-one package in the past were common user interface across the three different areas, data interchange between the three different areas, and the ability to run these programs at the same time and switch between them with a single keystroke. And so the limited success that all-in-one software has had to date, I think a lot of it can be explained by the fact that was the only way to get these three benefits. However, if we look at the way that systems are evolving and the types of environments they provide, we realize that we can have these three benefits without doing an all-in-one application, because we can rely on the hardware and system software to give us these things. And what I want to do now is I want to look at each of these three benefits individually and see how on the Macintosh, which is the environment that Excel runs in, how you get this benefit without R having stuck all these applications together. First of all, common user interface. That's one of the really incredible things that Macintosh has done. They put out a set of guidelines and standards for how applications interface should be done. And they provided a set of tools that made it very easy to use drop-downs, use scroll bars, and use the mouse for pointing. And so if you ever pick up a new Macintosh application, you can immediately use the commands and know how to type and know how to interact with that package. And it's a substantial benefit. So the Macintosh has, across all applications, common user interface. The Macintosh now, with an announcement that Apple made in January of a program called the Switcher, has the ability to run multiple programs at the same time. That is, you can load into memory Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word and switch with a single keystroke between one and the other. Now, we've decided to include this switcher utility in with our Excel package. So it'll actually be on the disk that you get with Excel. Finally, data interchange. The Mac has always had very good data interchange. The ability to move numbers between products, the ability to move pictures between products. But to some degree, that capability has been overlooked because of the complexity and time lag of switching from application to application. And so now with the switcher, this data interchange capability comes into its full power, and we can move very quickly, including taking the data with us. So all of those benefits are now being provided in the Macintosh environment. And this means that we can give people the depth and the flexibility that our application's strategy indicates. Okay, now what I want to do is talk to you about why we believe Excel is really going to set a new standard in the spreadsheet area. And really the best way for me to do that is to actually turn on a Macintosh and give you a quick demo. Now, I'm not going to demo absolutely everything in the product. Because it's a depth product, we've been able to put in lots of exciting things. But I do want to show you some of the really key additions we've made in this numbers area. Now, as John mentioned, we do have not only a spreadsheet capability, but also charting and data analysis capabilities. Okay, here's Excel. It's up and running. You can see at the top the familiar Macintosh drop-downs, and then you can see a window, and in this case we've got a spreadsheet called East. The columns have letters and the rows have numbers. Now over here on the right we see the scroll bars. The scroll bars let you move horizontally and vertically. If we take this scroll bar and we scroll all the way down to the end of the sheet, you'll see that this sheet actually has 16,000 rows, which means that Excel is the world's largest spreadsheet. There's absolutely no practical limitation in terms of setting up your data. We also have 256 columns, so there's no limitation in that direction. If we go back up to the upper left-hand corner, we'll show a quick example of how you enter in formulas for a spreadsheet here. Let's say we want to compute the operating income. What we'll do is we'll select that, and then we'll type equals, and then we'll simply point at our sales number, and then we'll say we want to subtract, and then we'll point at our expense number, and then we'll enter that in. And of course, it immediately computes that amount. Another way that we can enter in formulas is by using names. And here up at the top, you'll see that the formula that we've used for this cell is total sales minus total expenses. This way of using names is unique to Microsoft Spreadsheet. It allows you to have a name that refers to that total sales area, and yet it'll do the computation in each individual cell. Another thing we've done is we've greatly improved the way the spreadsheet does its work. The way that all spreadsheets to date have worked is every time you change a cell, they go through all the cells in the entire worksheet and recompute those formulas. Now, first of all, Excel does that faster than any spreadsheet has before. But also, Excel keeps internal data structures that tell it which cells it actually needs to recompute. So if you change part of your data, it'll realize that only the summary information needs to be updated, and it'll only have to do a fraction of the work that previous spreadsheets have had to do. Now we can illustrate that here. If we go in and change the amount we sold of gears in the first year, let's say we increase it to some large amount, if you look carefully, you'll see that all we do is update 3 cells in that same column. Let's change it again, because it's pretty quick. Let's change it to 0, and you can see that the only numbers that change are the ones in that column. So this will, in any sort of real-world spreadsheet, this will give us a dramatic improvement in overall speed. And this is because we went in and changed the overall approach to doing computation. This is totally at no cost to the user because it's completely transparent. Now another thing that we've noticed in spreadsheets is that they in fact are very hard to use because you have a single sheet and there's a tendency to not know where you're putting different data, and some data runs into other data, and you just don't get the opportunity to organize your data logically. What you really like to do is to have multiple sheets and be able to break it down into logical pieces. So if we reduce the size of this window, we can see that what we've actually got in memory now are 3 sheets. We've got not only our Eastern region sales data, but also our Western data sales information and our summary information. And it's very easy to simply point at one of these sheets and go in and work on that sheet, or point at the other one, and all the commands work on all these different sheets. But as well as being able to have multiple sheets and cut and paste between them, a really powerful feature, an important feature, would be able to do consolidation, where you can simply have a formula that refers to these other sheets. And we have a good example of this here. What we want to do is, in our summary sheet, we want to compute the net sales. And we want to add together the sales information from the Western region and the Eastern region. So what we'll do is we'll go up to this net sales line, and we'll say that we want to make that equal to, and then we'll point to the Western region, go in and pick up a name that refers to its sales information. So we point to total sales there, and so that the formula gets the total sales name. Then we point to the Eastern region, and we also take the total sales from the eastern region. So now the formula at the top there actually simply says west total sales plus east total sales. And it's completely general. We can use the information from other sheets in any way that we want to. And you see it's now taken that information and summarized it. Now this is linked together. You don't need to go through any manual steps to move the information from sheet to sheet. If we go down onto the eastern region and change the number of gears we sold, type in some large number, and as soon as we enter that, you'll see up on the summary sheet, it changed the amount of information, the amount of sales. Let's try that again. We'll type a smaller number this time, and immediately that number reduces. And so it's completely tied together. So you have the full flexibility of multiple sheets, but the power of consolidation. Okay, another thing that you often want to do is illustrate numerical data with graphs. But to date, that's been very difficult. What we're going to do here is simply select our net sales data and our total expense data. And then we're going to tell the machine that we want a new window. It'll come up and ask us what type of window, and we'll say chart window. Now what it does is it automatically takes the information and sees what are labels and what are numbers, and it'll build a chart using the default chart type. This is without giving any extra commands. All we did was select and say we wanted a chart, and now it's gone and built that chart. So now let's move it down so that we can look at our data and the chart at the same time. And let's go in and change some of this data. Let's lower our expense amount by quite a bit, say down to 50,000. As soon as we enter that in, Excel realizes that it needs to update the chart. And so it redraws it, and you can see that the second column there has gone down quite a bit. Now, if we want to make a very good-looking chart, we've got incredible power in this charting facility. We just enlarged the window, and it redrew it resized the chart to the size of that window. Now let's say we wanted to change the chart type. If we use this gallery command here, we can see we've got all the various chart types. In fact, we support 42 different chart types. Here we'll choose another column graph, and it'll show us the examples of column charts that we can do. We're going to select one that's got the grid lines drawn in. And so as soon as we select that example, it'll go back and use this data, but this time it'll do it with the grid lines on the chart. Another thing we could do is, let's say we want to know which bar was which, we could ask it to add a legend. So we're simply using the add legend command, and it immediately goes in and redraws the chart with this legend here. Now let's say we wanted to touch it up. In fact, let's say we want to indicate this low expense data in 1983. We can give a command to add an arrow. So we simply say add arrow, and the arrow appears on the chart. And then all we have to do is use the mouse to position the arrow to the particular part of the screen we want it to be on. So here we've got it pointing to this 1983 expense information. And now if we want to put a label up there, we simply go to the keyboard, type in the label, hit enter, and then the label will appear on the chart. And now you simply use the mouse to position this label to wherever you want, and we'll put it up at the end of the arrow so that we've got a nicely annotated chart. One more touch-up we can do here is we can select the legend that we've got, and we can say that we want to change its pattern. Here what we're going to do is we're going to say that it would look better if there was a shadow behind the legend. So we'll click for shadow, and immediately it'll redraw the chart, and you can see that's nicely touched up. So this shows a small percentage of the charting capability, but it also shows how accessible it is. I mean, we're using the actual code as of today and an actual Macintosh with floppy disks to do all the things that we're demonstrating here. Now let's go back to our worksheet and look at this worksheet overall. Now, what we found is when we talk to worksheet users is that they often have the worksheet information retyped because it's just simply they don't have enough control over the formatting to get the appearance they want to. So we've added a lot of things in here to allow you to make good-looking spreadsheets without extra effort. For example, let's say we wanted to take these years up at the top and we want to emphasize those. We'd simply say that we want the style to be bold. And so we have complete control over the styling of the individual cells, and that's something that's completely unique. Another thing is, let's say we want to take this per share data and actually indicate that it's per share. Now today, when you format numbers in spreadsheets, it's been a very complicated thing because you can't put labels in. Here, we just use this format number command, and we'll type in that we want not only the number, but we want the text per share to be after it. So as soon as we put that in, you can see that it reformats the sheet and it shows per share down at the bottom there. Now that's a very general facility. We can format dates and times, we can do currency formats. Really you have total flexibility to get the appearance you want. And we prepared in advance this same spreadsheet where we've gone through and used our touch-up facilities to make it into a very professional looking presentation. So you can see here it's exactly the same numbers we were looking at before, but what we've done is we've used bold and italic, and we've used our bordering features to really emphasize the information we want to emphasize. And of course we've got the per share labeling down there below. So this is a numeric report that's really ready to be printed out. When you do want to print something out, though it's a fairly complex thing in terms of printing it, seeing if it's right, making some changes, trying it again, changing the margins around and things of that nature. So another thing that we've made available is what we call a preview feature. If you give the print command, it'll come up and ask you exactly how you want the document printed, but one of the options will be preview. So if we have preview checked and we say to go ahead and do the print, what it does is it actually prints to the screen. So what you're seeing there, although it looks kind of small because the screen can't show you a full page, is a small representation of what will be printed out. Now that shows you the layout and the margins. However, if you want to zoom in and really look at this thing, as soon as you move the cursor onto this page, you get a little magnifying glass. And if we simply click, we'll see exactly that portion. And if we click again, we're back there. So you can magnify. Let's go down to the bottom where the page number is. We'll click there and you can see it's going to say page 1. So we can make sure that we've got the footers, the headers, the margin, all exactly right before we actually go and do the printing. Okay, the next thing I want to show is probably one of the most challenging things to demonstrate, and that is I want to show the facility we have for working with macros. Now macros is a very valuable feature in a spreadsheet because if you have something you do again and again, it can totally automate it. You just give a single command and then that whole procedure is executed without your having to repeat anything. But to date, macros have been very, very difficult to use. And setting one up really required an expert. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to make a macro in front of your eyes and then show you how it can be used. I will start out by opening up a sample spreadsheet we have, and I want to explain what it's for. It's called running total. What this is we've got a product, 3 products that every month we make a sales summary. And so you can see we have March, April, and May sales up there for widgets, March, April, and May, for widgets, sprockets, and cogs. And what our task is we want to take this month's sales, put those in, and have it move the data over, add the old data to the totals, and put the new month name in there. And this is something we're going to have to do month after month. So let's ask Excel, as we do this for the first month, to remember what we did. So in order to do that, we'll open up a new window, which is a macro window. And as soon as we open it up, you can see it's another window. We'll select the first column, and we'll tell Excel, there's a macro drop down up here, we'll tell it to set the recorder. That is, we'll tell it to record everything we do right there. Now let's go back to our sales data, and then let's tell Excel to start recording everything we do. Okay, so what do we want to do? The first thing is, let's take the March data and copy it over. We want to add it onto the installed base number. So we'll add it, we'll paste it on there by adding the values in. And so now the installed base numbers are updated to include March. Then what we'll do is we'll take April and May, select them by cutting them out, and then we'll go over to the left and we say we want to paste them back in one column to the left. And so now we just moved April and May over. The next thing we want to do is we want to say to put the new month name in. So we'll say we want to use our series command and have it add one more element here, which is 1 month after the current start, which is May. So by using that command, now it's put in June. And the final thing we want to do is take this month's sales data and copy it up here into the summary area. And so we use the paste command, and now that month is up there. The final thing we do every month is we select all the sales data and we say we want to make a chart that we hand around that shows us this summary information. So we simply said we wanted a new chart window. It made the chart. In this case, let's go to the gallery and use an area chart. So we select area, and it shows us all the different types of area charts. We'll select the one that has the labels actually on the chart itself. That's a particularly good looking one. So as soon as we do that, we get a nice chart display. Okay, so there it is. We've done what we do every month. And Excel was watching us, keeping track of all those things. So let's tell it to stop watching what we do, stop recorder, and then let's go back and actually, for the fun of it, look at what it recorded. Okay, there's the macro window, and over on the left you see all the commands we've given. Now it's not necessary that you understand those commands. Somebody who wanted to could edit those commands and add in the use of parameters and do an incredible variety of things. We have made our macro language really unique. It has the full power of the Macintosh in that you can call up a dialog box to interact with the user. But in this case, let's just take what we recorded, which is our monthly procedure, and now go back. Oh, okay. First of all, let's give it a name. So we say we want to label this procedure the update procedure. Simply type in update and say OK. And now that has the name update. So now if we go back to our summary, let's say it's now July. And so we go down to this month and we type in what the July numbers are. And our sales have been going up a lot, so we enter in much larger July numbers. Okay, now we're ready. All we're going to do is say run, tell the macro command to run, and we'll select the update procedure. Now when he clicks OK, I want you to watch carefully because it's going to go through all those steps for the month of July. Go ahead. Okay, first it adds the date in, moves it over, puts July up there, comes up, prepares a chart, and of course it'll start out and do the default chart, the column chart, and then it'll change it to be the area chart. And so there, with a single command, we've done our entire monthly procedure. You know, during that whole time, we didn't type a single thing. It simply did what we have to do. Now, just to show you how simple that is, I want to go back and do it one more time. Let's say that it's August. We simply enter in the August information, and our sales have gone up again. And then we say we want to run the update macro. And as soon as we say that, it goes in and does all this repetitious work that we used to have to do by hand. And in a few quick seconds, it's actually completed the entire monthly procedure. Now we could have included in there commands to print out that, or to ask us questions about what form we want to print it out this month. We could have gone much further. Now there's no other spreadsheet in the world where they could have sat here and live made a macro for you that actually did something very useful and show you how to repeat it. Now there's one final thing I want to show, which is the fact that this number solution can actually work with the depth word solution. That is our word processor on the Macintosh. We've been running here on this machine right down here where Excel was running by itself. So now we're going to switch the video to another Macintosh where we've actually got Excel running under the switcher. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you see that little arrow. That shows you that you're running under the switcher. What we've got running is both Excel and Word. If we just hit a single key, we'll go over to Word. So there's Word, and we're in the process of typing in a memo. That's the Word menus at the top, and we've said, take a look at the enclosed chart. I think you'll see our last 3-month sales figure look extremely attractive. So let's say we want to take that chart and put it in here. So we'll hit a single key and go back to Excel, and then we'll select this chart by using the copy chart command, and it asks us what form we want to see it. We want it as shown on the screen. So now the chart is in the data interchange. Now we'll hit a single key to move over to the word processor again, and now we'll simply use the paste command that's built into all Macintosh applications to move that data across. And so now we've got the chart that we made over in Excel into our Word document. And it was very, very straightforward and very quick. So you can see the power of the switcher lets you work with depth applications in a very flexible fashion. The final point I'd like to make about this demonstration is that it's not something we actually pause to show as an individual item, but in fact, all these commands we've been using have used this graphical user interface, the Macintosh drop-downs, Macintosh dialogues, which have made this product, even though it's more powerful, we believe significantly easier to use than the previous generation spreadsheets. Now I want to, really this type of combination where you have a state-of-the-art software product using state-of-the-art hardware is really the key combination in this industry. It's what has helped new hardware sell, and it's what's helped new software sell. So now I wanted to introduce Steve Jobs, who created the hardware that we're using to do this.
Hello. It's nice to be with you this morning. Myself and Mike Murray, the Director of Marketing for Macintosh, and Guy Kawasaki, who runs all of our software relations, came out here so that we could be here with Microsoft this morning for a few reasons. We think this product is really important. And I think after seeing it, there are three really important things to notice about it. The first is the power. We've looked at it extensively. It really is the fastest spreadsheet in the world. It really is the largest spreadsheet in the world. It really is the most full-function spreadsheet in the world. The other two things, though, are even more important than that. The macro capability that you've seen. How many of you use 1, 2, 3 or Symphony on a PC? And how many of you use macros very often, that you create yourself? Yeah, far less. If you've ever tried to do it, it's pretty cryptic. Not only is it not as powerful, but the creation process is something that's really only doable by people that might normally program in some high-level language or twiddle the bits in some esoteric way. So macros haven't really been a facility that have been available to a lot of people using spreadsheets, and as such, they've been pretty much user-driven. The user that wants the data has to go through manually and do each step of the operation. What this is going to enable people to do is for someone in a company, a small, medium, or large company, to program the macros and then hand over the spreadsheet to somebody who can then just use it in a almost regurgitation fashion month after month, day after day. But if those macros need modification or if new macros need to be created, almost anybody in the office is going to be able to do it. So the macro facility is going to be quite a change for spreadsheets. The third one, as Bill articulated, is this different notion of integration. What we set out to do with Macintosh from the beginning was to, not only with the hardware, but primarily in those ROMs, in the system software in the Macintosh, create standards so that somebody who wrote a program in Utah could cut and paste or interchange data with Bill's programs that he wrote in Bellevue, Washington, where the person in Utah and Bill never had to talk to each other. And the reason for this was that if you write these large integrated packages where the whole thing's in one package, it's almost impossible to have the best version of each element in your package. If you have the best spreadsheet and charting program, the chances are that somebody else down the block is going to come out with a better database, and somebody else in another state is going to come out with a better word processor, and your integrated package is a compromise. You can't sort of change the modules independently, and you can't be constantly updating your integrated package each month to match the features that somebody just came out with in one of their standalone modules last week. The vision of integration, then, that Microsoft is pursuing is one with the addition, of course, of things like the switcher and the Macintosh environment means that they can concentrate one at a time and create the most in-depth, powerful modules available, and then link them all together as you've seen here today with the switcher. And we believe very strongly in that view of integration. And we believe very strongly that there are going to be sort of, as Bill expressed, certain bindings of things together. As an example, word processing and programs like Draw will probably end up being together. Charting and spreadsheets will probably end up being together, as we're seeing here today. And probably database and communications functions will end up being together. But outside of that, we think that this being able to switch and cut and paste between applications is going to offer companies like Microsoft and others an immense freedom to go deep rather than go broad, and I think that's very, very important. Another very interesting thing's happening this summer. This, as you know, our industries are going to have a long, hot summer as it is, but there's a war brewing between Lotus and Microsoft, if you haven't noticed that. It's very interesting. Lotus, of course, has gained the preeminent position for spreadsheet software and individual productivity software on the IBM PC. And Microsoft, because they aggressively pursued the Macintosh environment a year and a half, 2 years before most other people, has really had an incredible head start in the Macintosh environment. Now, Microsoft would like to move eventually not only on the Macintosh environment, but move also to the IBM world. And they see being extremely successful on Macintosh not only, of course, as a great revenue stream, but also to fund their efforts to eventually move to the IBM environment as well. Lotus, seeing the IBM environment flatten off, sees Macintosh as their significant growth opportunity for the next few years. So there's going to be a battle here. And the battle is going to be fought in 3 different places. The first is the product area, the product battle. And I think that both Microsoft and Lotus are going to have excellent products. I think this product is absolutely going to not let Lotus walk away with the entire show here. I think Microsoft is going to have an extremely competitive product. But that's only one of the 3 battlefields. The other 2 are going to be what's done in terms of the marketing of the product in the media. There's going to be an incredible media exchange, I think, that we're going to see as Microsoft and Lotus both battle for the share of mind and that confidence that customers desire in their spreadsheet products and manufacturers. And the third battleground is going to be the distribution channel. How well does each manufacturer train the dealers, support the distribution channel with new programs, etc. And if I were you, I would watch each of those 3 battlefields. Certainly from a product point of view, I think it's going to be very interesting. And I think that Microsoft and Lotus are both going to come up with some very innovative programs for the other 2 battlefields as well. So we're really looking forward to seeing how this all turns out, actually, ourselves. And I know myself that there's going to be a lot of people at Apple using the XL product. We're really, really pleased with it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve. We certainly appreciate your flying out here along with the other members of the Apple contingent. Our next speaker is Enzo Teresi. He is a Senior Vice President of Businessland and is going to give a viewpoint on the product from the dealer channel side.
You might have also noticed that there is an ongoing battle between 2 companies, Apple and IBM. And so I'd like to say first a few words about the importance of Apple to us in the distribution channel. We introduced Apple. In fact, we introduced only the Macintosh line at Businessland in April of 1983. Sales of Apple computers have been growing steadily. One of the most interesting sales statistics for us was the fact that January of this year was a stronger month than December, which tells me not only that the line in the consumption and the demand for the Macintosh is increasing, but it also tells me that the product is not totally viewed as a consumer-oriented product, which is very important for us. The other important consideration is that Apple represents a unique opportunity to the distribution channel for what I call incremental sales. On the contrary, a fully compatible IBM product most likely represents a replacement sale opportunity. So we do carry compatible products, but that's the need for the customer to have a choice, and sometimes for us also to have a choice. But Macintosh and the technology that Apple represents, it's really a different way of doing things. It does represent a different market, and it can in fact create new markets, and it's an incremental sales opportunity. In trying to assess the impact of Excel into our market and our sales, first of all, let me say that we have had Excel in evaluation over the last about 10 days. And I've spent some time playing with it, and some of our software gurus have been playing with it. And we have also looked at the other major competitors' product, namely Jazz. And obviously we know a lot about Lotus 1-2-3 and Symphony. And what I did is I asked myself the question, what is this primary software that really sells hardware? And it's clear, I looked at the, and I ended up in the default chart, Bill, unfortunately. But that's about the best I can do with current technology. I looked at about the last 3 months of sales, and I have to say that these numbers might look a little low to you because you've probably seen statistics saying that Lotus has been shipping with 50+% of every CPU sold in 1984. What I've done here is a little different. I've looked at every unit shipped on the same invoice, meaning I'm shipping a full solution. I'm shipping 100 CPUs, and with every 100 CPUs I'm also shipping 20 in a bundle with an electronic worksheet type of a product. Most of the blue chart is really Lotus 1-2-3 today. Most of the word processing shipped today is in fact a variety of different packages. There are a number of really powerful deep products, namely MicroPro products, and Word is a very successful product, Multimate, Display Write, and so on. As you see, the conclusion of this is very clear. The major application for the single task workstation that people take home and play with is in number crunching, in word processing, and in database. Database is down to the level of 5–6%. This is what I call solution selling, and it also really emphasized the point that there are number users, the blue classification, there are word users in the word processing area, and there are database users. That's the way we see it. And it's also very clear that the spreadsheets and the word processing packages are selling hardware. And this is very important. I look at the world as being software sells hardware and people sell software. That's the key challenge. You gotta get mind share of people for them to sell software that in turn will sell hardware. I added to the chart for comparison purposes our statistics on sales of accounting software. And as you see, accounting is also in the same level of demand of database. And the others are what I call secondary application packages. Those are increasing in size, graphics, artificial intelligence, and communication products, for example. Now, what's very important is that in my definition of an office workstation, the key ingredients are numbers, words, and database. This is very interesting in the sense that office, by my definition, is not necessarily the Fortune 1000 corporate office. That's true also for the office at home. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why Lotus has been so successful, because it's a key ingredient in the office workstation, both for corporate accounts and for the single user, the office professional who uses this tool at home. Conclusion is that there is also another workstation that we could define, which is what I call the business workstation. The business workstation will, in time, be a combination of those 4 key modules. Electronic worksheet capability, with word processing, with some database management, and accounting. Today, it's clear to me that most of the business workstations are running using accounting and word processing. There is very little combination of the 4 other than for these 2. In time, what will make into an extremely powerful business workstation will be the ability to move data from accounting type packages like your general ledger into a product like Excel, which will allow you to do what-if analysis of your business. That capability today does not exist as far as I know. It's not easy to do at all. I cannot move my general ledger or my accounts receivable data into a powerful worksheet. And that will be very key to making the business workstation really increase our sales. I call secondary applications the others. There is fast-growing indication that graphics and communication and artificial intelligence, decision support products will be increasingly important. The point I wanted to make, though, is that today there is a standard for the office workstation. The standard is obviously, in my mind, the combination of an IBM PC and a powerful worksheet as 123. As I said before, statistics indicate that 50% last year of what's sold in PCs was shipped with 123. Now, the other observation was that a lot of people looking at this situation decided, well, we have to put together numbers, words, and data into one product, and that's the multi-function integrated package that I say is represented today by Symphony. The expectations for that kind of product were very high, even within the distribution channel. The reality is that the multi-function products are not at all competitive with the deep, powerful products that exist in the market. To give you some statistics, Symphony is probably 1 to 5 to 1 to 3. And my personal opinion is that what Excel will do to Macintosh, it's very similar to what 123 did to the PC. For what I've seen, for what I understand about the product, Excel relates to Macintosh the same way as 123 relates to the PC area. And I also see that JAZ most likely relates to Macintosh the same way as Symphony relates to the PC. JAZ is more of a multi-function type of a product, but it's certainly in the spreadsheet area is not as powerful as the product we're seeing today. Now, I think in the area of the workstation, though, the ability for the customer to make that decision, I don't think is that black and white that people do not like multi-function products. I have an opinion that maybe Symphony is not the best implementation of a multi-function product. I believe the market will like both. People want to have the choice of using either the very deep combination under, say, the switcher, but they might also like the multifunction. If properly implemented, this will be a decision that the customer will make in the next 6 to 9 months. We have some indication from the past that there seems to be a preference for the deep, powerful product in a combination, and the bundling is done by the customer. It's not done by the publisher. The customer decides, I'm a heavy number users, and I am only a memo writer, so I'm going to buy Excel in a very simple memo writer on Macintosh. Or I'm very heavy in numbers and in words, and I'm going to buy the combination of Excel and Word, as an example, under the switcher, which is what we saw before. But the fact that that choice is to the customer, I think, is very important. But the positioning is clear, and what's very important is that all of this is becoming available, even though it's becoming available in a way in reverse order to what happened to the PC market, because we have the Symphony product available before the 123 type product. But what's very important is that this is all happening in the next 90 to 120 days. So it's a very major opportunity for the Macintosh workstation to now be really competitive with the existing standard workstation in the office of corporate America today. I had one last point. I'm most impressed with, from what I've seen, and you have seen the demonstration, the charting capability of this product are incredible. The product is very forgiving. You don't have to think about producing a chart. It will do it for you. The recalculation speed is incredible. We've seen 4-to-1 type of speeds. Macros capability, the recording, the fact that the computer learns your macro for you is really great. And what's also very important in my mind is the fact that you now have the Lotus World connectable, and file transfer capability between these two worlds is very key. Steve, I know, likes to talk about IBM and Apple connectivity. I think this product is connectable to the existing Lotus product, and that's connectivity between software, which is probably as relevant as the other. And obviously, we're looking forward to see the final ultimate accounting and in business workstation in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Enzo. We are balancing Enzo's West Coast dealer channel view of the world with the New York dealer channel view of the world with Mr. Ed Anderson, who's Vice President of the Computer Factory.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here and offer the view of someone close to the customer. In fact, we're a little closer than Enzo because we're only 10 blocks away. In order to look at the prospects for Excel, it might be helpful quickly to look at the role we see the retailer having with the computer end user. Our mission is essentially a simple one, and that's to solve the end user's problem. We're selling productivity, and that means we go through discrete steps. We train our salespeople to quickly go through and identify the customer's problem, to evaluate the software that will address the problem, and to match the best hardware which will run the software, and finally to support, train, and technically support and service the customer. In other words, software drives hardware. Picking new software is one of our most important tasks. What criteria do retailers use to pick new software? The perfect laundry list of new software for us includes a variety of things. First, software should address an unfilled need. Second, to rise above the noise level with a profusion of lots of good products out there, it must be backed by sufficient resources and marketing skill to capture some attention. Third, we like it to offer prospects for building basic demand, not merely replacing an existing product. And lastly, margins must be sufficient to justify new training and support. The difficulty of this task leads many retailers to be cautious about picking new products. This brings us to Excel. What we see different about this product is that real unfilled user needs have been incorporated in the design concept. And in fact, one could go so far as to say that the end user, the Power Spreadsheet user, has essentially designed this product. What Microsoft is offering is more performance with less difficulty of use. They're pushing out the limits imposed by the trade-off of richness of features versus ease of use. As a result, this new product has all the ingredients to build basic demand for personal computing, not just capture market share for the spreadsheet user. Excel meets the retailer selection criteria, so it will be able to make it on key dealers' shelves which cater to the business market. Excel minimizes the trade-off of performance versus ease of use, so it will be able to capture attention of power spreadsheet users. Excel represents one of the finest examples of business productivity software available for the Mac, so we should see momentum build for the Mac moving into corporate America. My enthusiasm notwithstanding, the most important vote on Excel will be cast by the computer user in business. Thanks.
Well, I hope at least we've convinced you why we believe Excel is in fact the world's greatest spreadsheet. I'd like to amplify just slightly on the point that Enzo brought up about the fact that Excel has communications capabilities with 1, 2, 3. Excel has two-way communications capability. It is perfectly capable of creating spreadsheets that would run under 1, 2, 3. It is capable of reading spreadsheets created by 1, 2, 3. And it has exactly the same capability with Microsoft's multi-plan for the Macintosh and for the PC. Excel will sell for $395. It will be available on retailer shelves by September. It is available now for evaluation by national account customers, and as you can hear, it is also in evaluation by some of the key retailers in the United States. We currently have over 100,000 users of multi-plan on the Apple Macintosh. Recognizing the fact that many of these people are going to upgrade to the 512K Mac, and to keep these people happy owners, we are offering them an upgrade policy whereby they can obtain Excel for the differential in price between multi-plan and Excel, which is $200. Many of these same people also purchased a copy of Microsoft Chart. If they bought both packages, we'll upgrade them for only $100. We have not set any specific time limit on this upgrade, and we will probably simply keep it going for as long as there are buyers of multi-plan and of Chart, which will operate on the smaller Macintosh. With that, our formal presentations are done. Your questions are welcome. After the questions and answers, we will adjourn to the foyer. We have demonstration machines set up out there, and I believe we also have an open bar. And finally, we'll serve luncheon at 12:45, and that will be in the Crystal Room, which is back down the hallway. So if anyone has questions, we'd like to take them at this time. Thank you. I guess I'll stay up.
Okay.
Yes.
With regards to three-dimensionality, have you said that you've really solved that problem, that is producing actual real data cubes? One of the problems with a spreadsheet, it's only two-dimensional. You want to add another dimension, you go berserk because you're creating all these little spreadsheets that you want to thread through. It would really be a terrific advance.
Well, Bill actually created a three-dimensional scenario on the screen when he had two sheets that linked directly forward to a third sheet, and he did it while you watched. If you'd like to amplify on that.
Yeah, we were looking at things by region, by product, by month, which would be 3 dimensions there. There's some things in the macro facility that let you, if you want to change the orientation and not view it by region, but view it, instead in the major way by product or something like that, you can use the macros to transform the data. We really feel this is the first spreadsheet that gives you that facility through the named sheet and the consolidation feature.
Yeah, I might also add that the program, if you load in a sheet that has been created that has dependencies on other sheets, for example, a year's consolidation of profit and loss statements, And as it loads in, it will automatically go to the disk to find the other sheets that it depends on, and if they're not there, it will tell you that they're not there and ask you to load the particular month that you're looking for. So it could be quite possible to have a scenario where diskettes are sent into a central location, or the data is transmitted to a central location, put on disk, and then automatically loaded up to the sheet. All of that is done in a fully automatic way when you save a sheet that you've created other dependencies on. Yes?
What are the limitations, using a switcher, which I have to really like, what are the limitations of adding programs in memory? Like, for example, if I would like to have your spreadsheet plus my drawing, can I bring in a switcher? Would that line
Yeah, the only limitation you run into there is that you've got 512K of memory. And so let's say you want to have a 150K spreadsheet. That leaves you about 200K to put in other things. Putting in any other Mac program, one other Mac program can be done in all cases. Fitting 3 in, you have to pick the other 2 to be relatively small. And communications programs are all quite small, so you'd have no problem with what your scenario is. Oh, sure. When you... No. The switcher is very good about that. You get to configure exactly how much memory each application gets, and it'll show you exactly how much there is for each one.
Back there? Yes.
Yeah, I find it curious that the chairman of Apple's board would basically announce a software war between and Microsoft. I asked the question to the officers at Microsoft whether you concur with this prediction.
We don't think we're at war with anybody. We think we're pursuing our business, and Lotus is pursuing their business, and there are areas of cooperation between both of our two concerns that are very strong, including the fact that we both have been working through Adapso on software piracy and other things of that nature. I don't view it as a war, but Steve or the press is certainly free to do so. We think it's just friendly competition. Yes.
Can you explain why you're sending out evaluations to national accounts right now, but the product won't ship till September?
Any product has to go through especially a product as advanced as this, has to go through quite a long cycle of final testing and final tuning. We tend to, when we're finished with a product, work quite hard on both reducing the size and increasing the speed. And we go through a cycle on the documentation where we attempt to get usability testing done to be sure that the documentation is up to par. And that simply is a time-consuming process. The national accounts we give the product to are told about any limitations that there might be in the version that they get, but they have a sufficiently long process of evaluation that they are willing to start with a product in what we would say an alpha release stage, which is before it has actually gone for full outside user testing.
Can you explain the parts that aren't working?
The parts that aren't working?
Yeah, I mean, it
There-
sounds reminiscent of...
No, there are, I don't believe at this stage there are any parts that are not working.
Yeah, the product is functionally complete. It's a matter of when you want to have a super high quality product and you want to ship it in, hundreds of thousands of units, you've really got to go through a lot of months of testing, and that's something that we're in the process of doing right now. This product is complete.
This is a very, very, very complex product, and allowing things such as a macro recorder to go capture things that you're doing with a mouse, allow a user the flexibility to do some things that may be extremely strange from our standpoint, but might make good sense for someone with an application nobody thought of, and we simply need to go through all of this type of testing and give it to actual outside users and have the time to evaluate anything that they might find. Yes? Yeah.
This is for Steve Jobs. When Lotus introduced Jazz, John Scullin was touting it as the vehicle to sell Macintosh. Now you hot on Microsoft's version of integration, and Apple cooled off on Jazz, or are we just going after everything?
Well, I suppose more B than A, yeah. It's interesting. What we're finding is that Macintoshes a lot of Macintoshes are being bought by business customers, not just, of course, the Fortune 500, but what we a lot of times refer to as the Fortune 5 million, the medium and small businesses as well. And there are going to be two distinct classes of users for these types of products in those businesses. One, of course, is the one we've spent a lot of time talking about today, the power users. And the other, though, is very interesting. As you know, the quarter ending in March, what was the largest selling integrated package selling on a personal computer? 1, 2, 3. That's what most people would think it was, and it was AppleWorks selling on an Apple II. AppleWorks is sort of a moderate performance, let's say moderate performance integrated package. It runs on the Apple II. And it was #1 for those 3 months, outselling Lotus 1, 2, 3. So there is also a market for a integrated package of a certain level of performance to complement the very deep packages that we're seeing here today. And I think both have their place, and it's just wonderful to see both coming out on the market. But there certainly will be an overlap, and it will be interesting to see how Lotus and Microsoft each maneuver to capture that overlap in their sphere of sales.
Yes?
The Businessland numbers suggested that for the IBM market, spreadsheet is predominant use. Do you think that for the Mac market, that holds true as well for products like Excel? Is that the appropriate focus of the Mac market?
Asking me?
No, Apple and Microsoft.
I know the answer as well.
Well, I think it's safe to say that in the demo you saw the way that we've been able to use the power of Macintosh for spreadsheet things in terms of showing bold and italic and fonts and lines and really being able to select things very easy. I think that the spreadsheet, the numbers work, leverages the unique power of the Macintosh extremely well. And so that when somebody's coming in for a number solution, they'll see that combination as being unique. I mean, the charting capability that we have there really requires the Macintosh, the switcher capability, the data interchange. I think it's true that without Power Software, you don't sell to power users. And so I think that Excel will open up new opportunities for Macintosh sales.
I have a comment on that too, and then Enzo has the answer. It's been sometimes frustrating for us at Apple in the last year because we went out with a message of ease of use, because that's what we saw was going to be the brick wall that our industry hit before very long, was that we were going to sell to the early innovators, we were going to sell to the people that would spend 2 weeks learning how to use a personal computer and read 400 pages. Rather quickly and get through that 10 to 15% of the market, and then we'd run smack into a brick wall because the other 85% of the market wasn't interested in learning about computers, wasn't interested in learning esoteric commands. They just wanted to get their job done. So we sold Mac, we positioned Mac as an easy-to-use computer, and to some extent forgot, and of course we've since remembered, that Mac is the most powerful computer on the market as well. And we are now trying to emphasize the power message along with the ease of use message. It turns out that Bill's software doesn't run 4 to 10 times faster than 1, 2, 3 on a PC just because of his software. Macintosh as a piece of hardware runs circles around an IBM PC. It's significantly more powerful than an IBM PC. And yet, through our focusing on the ease of use message, Mac got positioned as not a serious business piece of hardware. And I think that that's really not the case, and I think that perception will be changing now that the software to demonstrate that is going to be on the market in the form of Excel and other things in the future. So we're looking forward to seeing that perception change.
Enzo,
I was going to say yes, it is the right focus, as Bill and Steve just explained.
I might also point out that the reality of the situation is that somewhere between 35 and 40% of all of the people who have bought Macintoshes around the world have also bought a spreadsheet from us to go on their machine. So the penetration rate of spreadsheets on the Macintoshes with only one choice involved is still not too far away from the Lotus 1, 2, 3 experience with the IBM PC. Yes?
Did you
marketing alternative of not announcing product until it's intended?
Yeah, we considered every alternative, certainly. And we decided that with this very, very large install base of users that we have out there for Multiplan, that it was important for them to understand that there was another Microsoft product coming that would allow, and that we would have an upgrade policy for them, because we felt that a lot of people, and what we learned from Apple was that a lot of people were upgrading to the 512K machine, and we didn't want to lose that, all of these people that are upgrading to other products that will be coming out to run on the 512K machine. Yeah.
I would like to ask the gentleman from Computerland to...
Businessland.
It seems quite clear why Apple would want there to be a software war to get more attention for the machine. Would you consider the availability of the Excel product a necessary or a necessary and sufficient condition for Macintosh's reception in the office place? And if not, what else the computer needs?
Well, it is necessary for sure. I don't know that it is very necessary. There are a lot of other considerations in terms of penetration to the Fortune 1000 market. One is the full implementation of the concept of coexistence with IBM. I think that's very key, because the base is there already, and there is a customer mindset of that has to be worked on for penetration. There is no question in my mind that in the desktop market for Fortune 2000 customers, the IBM market share is much higher than what you see in market research today. It's probably in the 70s, not in the 40% region. So in order to succeed with that kind of competition, you need as much ammunition as possible in the product area, and that's why Excel is very important. Laser printing technology, I think, is very important. That's a very unique tool that has probably not been emphasized enough. But in addition to that, there are some very key strategic issues in distribution and contention system and all of that we haven't fully worked out yet.
As a brief follow-up, is it conceivable that having delivered a very powerful feature function for the Mac, Microsoft might consider attempting to deliver very powerful user friendliness in the form of a spreadsheet product for the IBM PC that is similarly powerful? And that would be to Microsoft.
Well, all technology eventually is available to all companies. The question here is leadership. Apple's taken a leadership role in creating an ease-of-use, graphically oriented product. And so although it's certainly true that over time, the IBM PC will have higher resolutions, it'll have higher speed, and in fact, it'll have the Windows software package. And so over time, it will be capable of doing these same sorts of things.
Over time, we'll all be dead, too.
Not IBM.
In the back.
Actually, I just wanted to get attention for
Esther who?
Esther who?
Well, certainly we'll use Windows to do that, and we ourselves have not even decided on the time frame, so you can imagine it's somewhat in the future. Well, given that there's no time frame established, I guess we'd look at the installed base of Windows at that stage and decide whether to bundle the Windows runtime with it or have it stand by itself.
Yes.
We've committed to complete that product in June, and so we will fulfill that commitment in June. We're in beta test right now, and so we need the month of June, I think, to be sure that we're going to shake it down by the committed month.
Yes.
I'm an IBM user, sorry. On my IBM, I have a sticker that says I'd rather be driving a Macintosh. I will switch when Apple comes out with a series 512K 10 megabyte internal. Is that likely to happen this year?
I assume that's for me.
Not for me.
We're going to leapfrog the 10 megabyte and just go directly to 20. And the product that we disclosed last week was a little 20 megabyte, actually pretty high performance 20 megabyte Winchester that's about this tall, that sits right under your Macintosh and connects through the external disk drive port, so it doesn't use any of your serial ports. And that's going to be a very, very nice solution, I think, and that's going to be available this fall. It's going to be, I think, quite a nice product.
Yes?
One more, she says.
Okay, we'll hold it to 2 more questions in the hands of... Yes?
What printers does Excel support?
Well, Excel supports the laser printer fully, and it supports the Apple image writer printer.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, it also supports a wide variety of printers through a product we have called Mac Enhancer that includes printer drivers for virtually everything: Epson, Toshiba, all the letter quality printers, and things of that nature. We should highlight the laser writer support because that's really critical. We've done I think an excellent job of making it work there. And in the press kit, we have some samples of printout that we made using the laser writer.
We also have them connected to some of the sample machines outside, so you can actually go by and see how that operates. Yes?
I'm an Apple user who's been thinking of switching over to IBM because the greater memory makes more attractive resources available in the machine, and now that's been increased even to a greater extent with this Intel. And my question for Steve Jobs is, do you have plans to increase the addressable memory in the Macintosh above the 512K? And what sort of schedule might those plans be?
Good question. The Intel board, among other things that have and will be introduced for the IBM, try to kludge around the limitation of the 640K that's inherent in the hardware and software systems in that product. I think it will actually take a certain amount of time before Microsoft and others truly make that a clean, large memory system. But there are certain hacks to get around things today. We absolutely have plans to extend the memory space of Macintosh beyond 512K. And I think certainly in the next 18 months you'll see some larger memory machines.
And when that occurs, Excel will run on those machines without modification and take advantage of the full amount of memory that's
and without expensive cards and things like that.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much. We will have lunch at 12:45. We will be available for demonstrations and questions after lunch if anybody wants to stay that long.
Hi, I'm Judy Schoolman from Reuters. I was sitting in the back and I was standing up and waving my hands and going around all of this.
Uh-oh.
I have just a couple of questions. I want to
Sure.
Yeah, it really did.
Induce people to take advantage of Apple's products from may sort of go for naught, given the fact that personal computer market might be showing some slowdown. How do you think
No, it's more interesting than that. I mean, it's not the personal computer market isn't experiencing a slowdown. The computer market's experiencing a slowdown. So what we're seeing is the entire computer market slowing down by anywhere between 10 and 50%, depending upon the company. And we're not just seeing Apple and IBM having off quarters. We're seeing, DEC, Data General, Wang, everybody. So I think the problem's a little more widespread.
Apple, either financially, either as far as its
What's interesting? If you look at let's look at the business, right? The stock will eventually follow business performance. If you look at the InfoCorp study on retail sales in the month of March, we actually, if you believe that study, which is usually pretty accurate, Macintosh outsold PCs at retail.
And where are you layoffs?
What's that? It's really, I read that Wall Street Journal article this morning. We closed down a distribution site